This is the MC Reggie Fresh Morning Show. The station that pays.
This is MC Reggie Fresh on the MC Reggie Fresh Morning Show and coming to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She's a former news reporter from WBBM Newsradio, CNN, and WLKY. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Miss Kimberly Easton. How you doing? And good morning, Miss Kimberly.
Awesome. Good morning. Good morning.
Well, today we want to talk about how long have you been into the radio business and TV business?
Wow. If I tell you that then you're going to be in big trouble. But it has been a while. Let me just say that.
Okay. All right.
It's been a while. It's been a little while.
Okay. Now, what made you want to do that kind of business? How did you get into it?
Oh, wow. When I think about it, some people say it was something that I've always wanted to do. I used to be one of those kids that used to walk around the house with the candlestick thinking I was on television all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
However, when I, actually, got into college, I started thinking a little more serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I happened to be one of the fortunate students from Liberty University that got an internship at CNN News.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's when I decided, I can do this. And my first day on the job, which kind of gives you a little bit about how old I am, my first day on the job was when the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up.
Okay.
And that's when I realized, wow, I looked around the newsroom and there were people with tears in their eyes, and there were people that were really emotionally distraught over what had just happened. And I said, these are journalists who really do care about what is going on in the world around them. And this is something that I can do. And then I fell in love with it.
Okay, now was you nervous the first time?
Ever since.
Was you nervous the first time?
Of course. I still get nervous.
Well, yeah.
Whenever you get on the air, I'm sure you get a little nervous, don't you?
Well, you know what?
Energy, right?
Well, you know what, ma'am? I talk to people every day because I'm a barber. That's one of my primary jobs that I do, too. So I talk to people every day. So it's kind of easy for me. Not to say some people get nervous, but I ain't really been nervous for a long. I've been doing it so long. I don't get nervous no more.
Well, I guess it's a good thing. Sometimes people get really comfortable. There's times I'm comfortable. I think I always want a little bit of nervous energy. I think it kind of helps.
It does. Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
I always was nervous. I always had a little bit of nerves there. But I love doing it. I love storytelling and telling other people's stories and getting to know people.
Exactly.
I think that's what you enjoy about your job.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
exactly.
Starting to understand people and what makes them tick and why they do what they do, that becomes real cool. You make your job,
very unique. It's very unique.
Right.
Okay, Miss Kimberly, let me ask you this. What kind of advice would you give to the upcoming anchors and people who's into this media business, as far as TV and radio? What kind of advice could you give to them when they first start out?
I talk to, and I do that now. Now that I'm a veteran journalist, I talk to a lot of young journalists. I work with them very closely as they are, pursuing their career ventures. And, one of the things that I really try to stress I call them students or those in training, is that really to be a good storyteller, that you've got to be able to really listen to the other person and really understand who they are and what they do, what they're doing, and why they do what they do.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I think that's the only way you can really tell someone's story.
Exactly. Because
I think sometimes we get, especially with television news.
Yes, ma'am.
We get so consumed with how we look. Are we thin enough? Are we fit enough? Are we pretty enough?
Right.
That we forget
the big picture.
It's not even about that.
Right.
This is about relationships. It's about being a voice for the voiceless.
Exactly.
And we lose that when we think about, do I look good enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I fit enough?
You know what? You got a good point right there, Kimberly. You got a good point, because there's a lot of talent out there that people can do, and they can show it off to the world, but because of the way they look or how they think, the other people are going to think, they won't even excel.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that...
And I think that's the horse that runs fast, you know, I always remember the horse that runs fast doesn't run very long. And that's so true.
Right.
You can have all those elements working for you. You can be the fittest, you can be the prettiest, but if you don't have concern for others and you don't really care about telling the real story, how long do you really think you're going to last in this business?
Exactly.
Fortunately, I've been in the business for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I really think it goes back to having that genuine heart of caring about other people and being the voice for the voiceless.
Outstanding, Miss Easton. Now, Miss Easton, I'm going to ask you this. Do you have any shout-outs you want to give to anybody?
Oh, wow. Any shout-outs you want to give to anyone? Well, you know, I mean, everybody has a shout-out. You know, everybody says, I want to shout out to my mama. You know, of course I want to shout out to my mama. You know, with me, you know, I'm the fortunate one. I want to shout out to my daughter, you know, who just had my first G-son. I say G-son.
Okay,
I want to shout out to my G-son who just celebrated his first birthday. And I know, I'm a G-mom, and I love every bit of it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm traveling right now. I'm in the Virginia area, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Speaking of which, we were talking about stories. Shout out to my girl, Kathy. I'm sitting across from her. I met her almost 17 years ago.
Wow.
We're having a wonderful, I'm actually sitting in our house right now, and she told me, she corrected it, it was 19 years ago. And speaking of which, it was an unfortunate situation. I met her when her daughter was unfortunately murdered almost 19 years ago.
Wow.
And it was a horrific murder. She was killed in a lesbian, basically, triangle.
Wow.
And I told this story when I was working at WSBTV as the anchor reporter here.
Yes, ma'am.
And that goes back to what we were initially talking about.
Exactly.
It was about relationships. Relational.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, this lady, you know, Kathy, is the one who told me her story some 19 years ago.
Man.
And I followed up with her, and I said, Kathy, is there anything else that you need from me? Here's my phone number. Call me. I'm not here just to tell your story today and leave and not ever talk to you again.
Wow.
I am really honestly sorry about what has happened to your daughter.
Right.
And it's because she knew I was real. Kathy has followed me all over this country.
Get out of
And
here.
it is interesting. I mean, I would be working in Sacramento, California at the Fox TV station, and I'd get a call from Kathy. I would be working in Michigan, you know, working for the ABC TV station in Michigan, and I'd get a call from Kathy.
Wow.
I would be working at the CBS radio station in Chicago, and I'd get a call from Kathy.
Well, that's a true friend.
And it's the interesting thing is it didn't matter where I would go in this country, Kathy could find me.
So,
and that's what it's about.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
You really are doing it with passion.
Exactly. You know what?
That person knows that you care about what you do.
It just dawned on me. A couple of days I did an interview. She was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I asked her would she like to get on my show. She got interviewed, and then she said, "You just made my day." She said her daughter had just got killed on a ride because she had asthma, and she didn't want her to get on the ride, and she lost her daughter, and she said, but you know, that's just. And I'm glad that I could reach out to her, like you said. That's what it's about. Mm-hmm. So you know,
and it really is interesting. You know, when you meet people and you get to do what we do.
Right.
It is a privilege. That's another thing I tell people who are doing what we do.
Exactly.
It is a privilege. It is not to be taken for granted.
Exactly.
And it is a blessing.
Exactly.
To be able to have the honor of sharing your personal story with the world.
Wow. That's outstanding. And the last question I want to ask you, Miss Kimberly, I know you're busy. I know you want to go enjoy your grandson. Could you tell me what's the baddest station in the land and the baddest station that pays?
Oh, well, you know who that is, the MC Reggie Fresh Morning Show.
And you got it, folks. And there you have it. That's Miss Kimberly Easton out of Pittsburgh on the MC Reggie Fresh Morning Show.
This is the MC Reggie Fresh Morning Show. The station that pays.